Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. We still have a couple people logging on, so we're going to get started in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Looks like we have just about everyone, Brian, if you want to go ahead and get started.
Great, thanks, Bailey. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Brian Vincent. I'm the General Manager of Securematics, and this is the first time I'm able to say good afternoon and hit all the time zones, unless you're dialing in from Hawaii, and if you are, then we need to talk offline about that. But anyway, welcome to our FastTRAC session. We have a very good agenda today. We're going to hear a lot about outdoor Wi-Fi design. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the business climate and what's going on from our perspective. I see we have a number of new partners here, so welcome. We're really glad to have you. Just to let you know, FastTRAC was really something we used to do in person at the office, and it was a lot of fun. We get together, we'd learn about the company and learn about technologies, and you get to see our office. We go out to dinner and all that stuff, and guess what? You all know what happened, and we can't do that anymore. So we try to make it a little bit more fun by sending out these kits. I understand that most of you have gotten these s'mores kits. And so just, I don't know what your experience was on getting those kits, but boy, I was really thrilled to get something in the mail other than an Amazon package for a change. And when I opened it up, first thing I thought about was, wow, we have UV candy bar flavored vodka and whipped cream flavored vodka. And the first thing I thought about is, number one, if you have middle school kids, you probably didn't find those in your kit. I'm only kidding. High school kids, really. And then I've gotten a question or two about, are we going to follow this up with a flavored vape kit? But again, only a joke there. I think it's awesome. We could at least get together now virtually, and I'm sure we've had our fair share of doing that. But you know, the secret is that we want to really make this informative, engaging, and so I guess the first thing we're going to do is just put up a trivia poll, if you don't mind, Bailey. So just a little trivia on the kits you got. In what city or region or state are s'mores consumed the most? And you'll see a number of choices there. And remember, we're a California-based company. That shouldn't sway your voting. Okay, polls in progress. So while we do that, let me tell you a little bit about Securematics. Securematics has been around for more than 20 years. I've been here a little bit over 12 and a half years. So I've been with the company for a long time, and it's a great place to work. We're headquartered in San Diego. Like I said, we do about $250 million plus in revenue per year. So we're very exclusively focused on networking, wireless, and security products and solutions. We're high touch disty. We don't want to be like the big guys. We really want you to come to us because we can give you personalized service and have a real in-depth product knowledge. And to that point, really, we're centered most of our solutions around 4 OEMs, Ruckus, CommScope being one, Juniper, Mist being the other, SonicWall being the third, and Pulse Secure being the fourth, plus all the supporting solutions and vendors and OEMs and consultants that go along with various verticals, whether that be hospitality, education, enterprise, you name it. We have a number of verticals that we focus on. The other thing is we know that you expect for us to have product. So our overall product inventory is very high. I'd say it's over $50 million. The goal is that when you place an order, that you can get your product in a reasonable amount of time. I know there's shortages and things like that out there, but what we try to do is we feel it's part of our value is to plan for that and be able to stock those products to smooth out the supply chain. With that said, we're really stepping up our investments with our Ruckus inventory, especially since ScanSource recently has stopped selling Ruckus. So we have been a good, I'd say, first source and second source for those customers. We do have a team dedicated to the Ruckus business, and we're going to do is we're going to have Ruth Parker, which some of you may already know, introduce the team in a little bit. As well as I always like to kind of poke a little bit around this is that Kim Bennett and Doug Ellingsworth were former Securematics employees and now are CommScope Ruckus employees. So we've got you well covered. I think we understand the Ruckus business and the people that make that up very well. So here's the, oh, come on. Now, I think I shouldn't lead the witness here because it says Santa Barbara, California. What's the real answer here? Does anyone have a real answer? Or we just make this poll up?
It's Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, all right. Well, here's to you, Grand Rapids. You know how to party. So just some general observations. I think it's important to kind of understand what's on our minds. Really, when you look at, and I'm going to reference everything with COVID right now because obviously that's a lot of the focus. The first push back in March was really getting employees back to work, in their home office, if you will. So that involved a lot of firewalls, VPNs, printers, keyboards, displays, hotspots, etc. And even just a different level of security. We had an instance where a customer brought home a laptop and their kids got on it, and all of a sudden their data was held up for ransomware. So it was beyond just supplying hardware and software and solutions. It was really giving folks a protocol on how to work from home from a technology perspective. The second push, which came really pretty quick after the first one, was getting students to be in a remote learning environment. And so schools were scurrying to come up with Zoom and iPads or Chromebooks, anything that can get the students doing distance learning. And we all know kind of the challenges going with that. Parents had to intervene a lot, and a lot of things had to happen. But kind of the third wave of this thing is now that we're all settled and we're spending 12 hours a day on Zoom calls and And it's amazing how people want to reach out, and we're getting interrupted every once in a while from a dog barking and an Amazon driver coming up and delivering a package. Is really this, what I call a human fatigue stage. There's a lack of socialization. We all didn't really get to take any meaningful summer vacations. Kids are especially affected. I would encourage you, just having a son in high school, that you talk to your kids, because it's maybe a little deeper than you think. So please have those conversations. And then the constant unknowns, opening a school, opening an office, closing a school, reopening, the cycle. People are really trying to, I call it kind of a race between developing a vaccine and also a race between what's the right protocol to get back into a facility if something, an organization like a school has to. So it's led to some trends here. Basically, what we're seeing is that with education especially, there's a real need to get the students back for everything I mentioned. And you'll see how this plays into, our outdoor Wi-Fi design presentation a little bit later. There's a desire for parents to go back to work. It's a lot of parents have become, full-time Zoom monitors and homeschool teachers. And so it's key to the economy, it's key to everyone's mental health, and it's key to student development. In a lot of cases, really, it's key to student safety and nutrition, because there's schools out there, or there's children out there that are not as fortunate that rely on the school for more than just socialization and instruction. So as you know, the technology business is doing quite well. Some sectors are down, but we really feel like the technology businesses that are contributing to returning workers and students are playing a key role and seeing an uptick in business. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to talk about in future FastTRAC sessions, especially around education, outlining the journey to really get kids on campus in a very responsible way, a very compliant way, and really Wi-Fi is going to be in the center of that solution. So that's the good news, but I wanted to tell you that this is, one of the areas that we're working on that is in very high demand. And by the way, it's going to require a solution set just beyond one OEM. As you can imagine, there's kiosk OEMs, there's lanyards, there's security cameras, there's of course Wi-Fi, there's Bluetooth, there's a whole HR process around, what are the policies around using that technology, whether it be privacy or what they're trying to track. So there's a fairly complex solution. So Securematics is going to actually put together a specialty channel program. And if you want to participate in that, you'll be hearing more about that shortly. So anyway, that's enough said on that. So we're very focused on the run rate business. We're very focused on making sure you have a great experience anytime you deal with us with any of our vendors, but especially Ruckus, because we're earning a lot of your business right now, and we expect that we're going to have customers that are satisfied in doing that. And we're also going to bring these solutions. So I think I pretty much consumed my 15 minutes, so I'm going to hand it over to Ruth. Ruth, why don't you introduce the team and take it from there.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As Brian mentioned, I'm Ruth Parker. I'm the business manager for Ruckus here at Securematics, and it's so nice to meet each of you virtually. And then also, I've seen a lot of different old names register, so excited to be working with everybody again and to hear from you. I am new to Securematics. I've been on the team here for about 3 months, but I'm not new to distribution. I'm not new to Ruckus, so if you've seen my name before, I did join the team previously at ScanSource. So I'm excited to be here at the Securematics team. I know it's not necessarily a company that might have been the forefront of your mind when it comes to Ruckus for distribution before, but I think that you're going to see that change in the future as it already is today. So we've made some serious investments in Ruckus over the past few months and also throughout the whole year in inventory, and then also on our team. I'm one of those additions, so I'm very happy to be here. And really today, like for the first part of this, we really wanted to just share with you about Securematics to let you get to know us better. And then on top of that, past that, we want to talk about Ruckus and our relationship with Ruckus, so and opportunities that we can help you grow in. So we're very excited to have you here. The real rock stars of our team are our sales team and our operations team. And you're going to hear a lot more about our sales team in a few minutes from my teammate, Robbie Mattel. But I really want to highlight a few people to you who are true MVPs that we've got. So we have Mitch Wade. He's on the call today, and all of these team members will be on our Q&A session later. So you'll definitely get to have a chance to quiz them and ask them questions if you'd like to and get to know them a little bit better. But Mitch is our sales director on the west side of the country, and he is just a great advocate for partners, as well as Ed Bender. So Ed manages our East Coast region, and they are both just very, very involved, very hands-on. They have an entire sales team that Robbie's going to go over that rolls up to them, but you'll really enjoy working with them if you're not already, and they're very, very accessible, very responsive, so you'll really enjoy working with them if you haven't already. I don't know that I've ever worked at a company before where we've had a fun director of finance and operations, but Shelly is definitely one of those people. She is very dynamic, very fun to work with. She's incredibly smart, and her and her team really come up with a lot of flexible solutions for our partners. They're very creative. They understand what's important to your business, and they are very happy to work with you and your teams. Definitely not least at all, although towards the end, our engineers who make us look a lot smarter than we actually are. Anon and Brian are awesome. So Anon's been on the team for quite a while at Securematics, and Brian has recently joined us. We recruited him over because we have been growing so much. And so both Anon and Brian are here to support you, whether you need heat maps or whether you need help with configurations, or someone to jump on the phone with your client. They're happy to help out as an extension of your team. And we also have our purchasing manager, Barry Pearson. He is incredible with managing all of the inventory and all the projects we have going on. And then Maroney manages an entire operations team. So they are following up to make sure you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed when it comes to all the different orders and all those details that really matter and that make a difference in your day-to-day business. And what do I do? So I am over the Ruckus line, and I work with our sales team. I work with all of these awesome people that you see here, and I also work with all the Ruckus team. So I feel like I should have a good sports analogy for you, because Brian always does, but I don't. I would almost just say I'm like the orchestrator of everybody to make sure that we're all talking to each other and to work in between everybody. So this one thing really different about us is that we try to work very closely with partners and to try to really give you that sense of you can call anybody on this team and we will get you to the right place, or we will jump in and help you out. So I work with our partners, I work with our sales team, I work with Ruckus, and I work with all of our different teams to kind of make sure that overall our Ruckus business is running holistically well. So you will hear from me a little bit more in a few minutes, but now I'm going to introduce you to my teammate, Robbie Mattel, and let him talk a little bit about what he does here at Securematics, and then also our sales team.
All right, well, thanks, Ruth. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks a lot for attending today. Really appreciate you taking some time out of the day. For those of you who don't know me, I am Robbie Mattel, and along with Ruth, I'm one of the business development managers here at Securematics for the Ruckus wireless line. The slide that you're seeing up right now is a breakdown of our sales team, which is co-led by Mitch Wade in the West and Ed Bender in the East. And one of the main benefits of partnering up with Securematics is you'll be assigned one of these inside sales reps who is 100% dedicated to your account. You have one throat to choke. It's always the same person, same phone number, same email. And then, of course, we have myself and Ruth as additional resources. And we are 100% Ruckus focused, here to support the Ruckus wireless line and all of your needs at a much higher level. So, project registration, any kind of liaisoning with our tech support, specific projects that you have, we'll bring in inventory and kind of run a mini warehouse for you, things like that. And that's really what I'm here for, is to to work with our partners and to really develop a relationship and grow business together. So that's my little spiel, and I'm going to get you back to Ruth, and we'll have a good day, good rest of the day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate it. Me and Robbie are always trying to find a good example for everybody of what we are. So we go back and forth between Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, we'll let you decide who's who, or Batman and Robin, a bunch of different things, but we are on a team together, and always feel free, if you don't know who to go to at Securematics, to reach out to me and or Robbie. We will get back to you. We are very in sync, and you know, we're lucky to be on a great team together for sure. So without further ado, your main reason for being here, outdoor Wi-Fi. So it's my pleasure to get introduced to you, a group of guys that are truly awesome. I can't think of 3 more people at Ruckus field team who will work harder for your business or to help you close opportunities than these 3 people here. Mike Allen, system engineer, awesome guy to work with. For those of you lucky enough to be based out of their region, you know what I'm talking about. These are great group of people. David, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Screwed it up.
Bousfield.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. I knew that I was going to screw that over. And then Adam Palacio. Thanks. And then Adam Palacio for sure as well too. What a great group of people. So I will let them take it over and talk to you guys about outdoor Wi-Fi. Thanks for being here.
Cool. Thank you, Ruth. Hey, everyone. I'm Adam Palacio. I've been at Ruckus the last 7 years covering Northern California. And I think earlier in the presentation, I heard talking about COVID and outdoor learning and distance learning and all that. And, you know, we've become really familiarized with everything going on with the end user community. And today we're going to kind of focus on some of that, but we're also going to cover some design stuff as well. So first we're going to have David kick it off, and then Mike, and we'll just kind of have a roundtable. And if anyone has any questions, please type it into the chat, and we'll do our best to address those.
Cool. Is my screen showing?
Are
you seeing me?
Not yet, Dave.
Okay. Sorry, just having a little technical difficulties here. There it goes.
No worries.
There it is.
Yeah, just switch to presenter mode, David, if you can. Perfect.
I did, but it didn't change. It pauses when I do that.
Well, we can do the other way then. It's fine. Hey Bailey, do you have the presentation you could load up real quick? Is that a possibility?
Here, I'll just load it with without going into slideshow mode.
There we go. Hey now.
All right, got it? All right,
Yeah.
I'll touch it. All right, my name's David Bousfield. Today we're going to talk about Wi-Fi designs and some of the issues and concerns and decisions that are made during when you're trying to stand up a Wi-Fi network. Our agenda, we're going to go through some outdoor use cases or applications that you're using the outdoor Wi-Fi to accomplish. Go through how to select an access point, how to mount the access point, and different options for powering your access points, and then how do you backhaul this information from the access point back into your network. And I'm going to do most of it somewhere in mounting assets. I think Mike's going to take over for me. So, all right. So we're in a time now where people want to be outside of buildings. So there's a lot of different opportunities where, whether it's outside of a library or outside of a school or even outside of enterprise, there's a need to have external Wi-Fi. We're also seeing in this time of COVID, kids not at school, that some schools are standing up park and learn Wi-Fi areas so that kids can have access to high-speed internet. And we also have some use cases for.
Hey David, one more thing. Go back real quick. I just want to make an announcement too. There's a lot of government funding out there. One is the CARES Act, and I think the next act will be called the HEROES Act. Don't quote me on the HEROES Act, but the CARES Act is actually, it's government funding, and it's going to allow connectivity for digital equity and kind of bridging the digital divide. So a lot of this, what we're talking about today, student access, whether it's in a parking lot, whether it's the drive-up access, is covered under that act. So there are ways to find that out. So I know a lot of my partners here in Northern California are taking advantage of that, and they're actually reaching out to their end users. So just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that, so they could take advantage of it and reach out to their customers.
Hey, Adam, it's Brian.
Thanks,
just want to let you know that we're going to be covering the CARES Act and the HEROES Act in another fast track as well. So no, it's a great announcement. Cool. Perfect advertisement. Thank you.
Perfect. No problem.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in here too. Personally, I've seen a lot of activity with school districts that are lighting up parking lots as shown, but also some of the cities and county governments are doing, they'll do the same thing or a similar thing in just a park or that kind of, that kind of environment where they're lighting up in spots where they typically don't have any Wi-Fi coverage just to support their population, really. In fact, we just did a deal with the city of Oakland for, I don't know, several hundred APs where they're going to cover most of downtown with free Wi-Fi. So that should be starting. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that type of activity as time goes on, where this really pointed out a glaring sort of weakness in our system. That now there's going to be federal money and county, city money to address.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. So also mobile outdoor hotspots, being able to put an AP on a vehicle of any kind and drive it to any place, and even connected buses. Buses are popular.
David, too, that last picture, that was kind of a homegrown solution, right? At that time during COVID, I mean, mounting brackets and accessories were such in high demand. Those are actually like bar rails, like what a bartender would use behind the bar, mounted and just hung from the truck, right? So we saw a lot of, for lack of a better term, MacGyver mounting ways, right, to accomplish stuff for distance learning. And this was right when pretty much the pandemic happened. So there's many ways to mount, and David's going to be going over them, but feel free to reach out to any of the Ruckus team and the Securematics team if you have questions.
All right, thanks. Buses are popular because they're big yellow things that are very visible in parks or outside of schools or whatever. So.
Hey, David, how are those mounted on that bus? Just curious.
This is the same way. It's got the bar tabs at the top pulling down to just a piece of wood that was used to provide a stable platform for the AP to sit against.
Cool.
And I'm not sure if you get into detail, but those are sectorized APs too. So, that's why they're kind of mounted sideways and pointed out to provide better distance. Yeah.
I have a section. All right, so we have a quick poll here. Just interested in what kind of application or use case are you considering with outdoor Wi-Fi deployment? Just whatever the primary or the main push that you have.
Yeah, kind of what you're seeing from your customer base, right? Out there in the field.
All right, general guest access is the most popular, and then general access for students facility, and then pretty much a tie for drive-up and remote classroom. All right, thank you. So when you're selecting outdoor access points, we have a few different models to choose from. Really, the difference in these models comes when you start looking at the antenna types that they have, the temperature range. So let's take the top one here. It goes down to -20 degrees centigrade. That's a special purpose AP that's for use inside of cold boxes. But the other three are really the more popular ones. The 310D, which has an omnidirectional radio on it, or antenna on it. Then the 310S, which is sector, that's 120 degrees. So I think of it as just smaller than 180 degrees. And then a narrow sector. And I'll show you some pictures of these antenna patterns and how they propagate. USB port is used typically for an IoT dongle. So that's available on ports. And then how you power them, these all can be powered via DC power. A step up from the T310 is the T610. This is a 4x4 radio instead of a 2x2 radio. So it's higher performance, has more throughput, has two gig Ethernet ports, and it can be powered by PoE if you like. The next step up from the 610 is the T710 or the T710S. This is everything that the 610 has basically, but we add a GPS. We add an SFP port so you can have a fiber connector, either 1 or 10 gig. It's AC powered, and then it also has PoE out. The next step up from this T710, which is our high-end flagship Wi-Fi 5 access point, is the T750. So this is our Wi-Fi 6 access point. Basically, same features as the 710, except for you get a 2.5 multi-gig Ethernet port, and you get SFP or SFP plus, and then it has a built-in IoT radio inside of it.
Yeah, and David too, and the price points, right, go from anywhere just above $1,000 to about $3,000, right? So depending on the application and what's needed for that deployment, we have an access point to meet the customer's budget and their technology need. So, right. And all of them are available. Well, the 310, 610, 710, sectorized, narrow, and omni, right? Depending on what the use case is and what needs to be lit up. So
right. One thing I wanted to mention too, a typical use case for the second Ethernet port, because the outdoor APs a lot of times are mounted up on light poles, is you can do a camera. So you would just use the AP to pass through power to the camera and mount them kind of side by side or one above the other, that kind of thing.
Cool. So the T750 is actually a Wi-Fi 6 AP. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about Wi-Fi evolution. We're at Wi-Fi 6 now, which is 802.11ax. Previous was Wi-Fi 5, which is AC, so on. The big benefit of Wi-Fi 6 is, these are a lot of the benefits of Wi-Fi 6. OFDMA, so we have subcarriers. Now you can have multiple clients listening or talking at the same time. MU-MIMO, power efficiencies with the sleep timers. We have a larger 1024 QAM, but the big difference here is this long OFDM symbol. So OFDM is the method we're using to send packets, and we space these packets with symbols. And the length of the symbol is the amount of quiet time that it takes for when one packet's done transmitting, for it to propagate through the network, and the energy to be gone before the next station transmits. In the case of indoor, we use that to bounce reflections off walls and do different things, and it works very well. When you get into the outdoor space, though, now you have a lot more distance between the client and buildings or adjacent surfaces that are around. So the signal can bounce and live a lot longer outdoors. And so what the standard body has done is added this long OFDM symbol to make sure that the air is quiet before we send the next packet, so that the stations aren't stepping on the tail end of other previous packets. So this gives us a lot more throughput in the outdoor world. You may have also heard of BSS coloring. There was debate about whether it's phase 1 or phase 2. That's getting pushed into phase 2. This is the ability to have a station determine, even though he's hearing his own AP on the same channel as some other AP on the same channel, he can distinguish which one is his, ignore the other one, and still transmit. All right, another poll question. So have you considered deploying Wi-Fi 6 infrastructure in your current or future technology plans? Just trying to get a sense for whether you're how much interest you have right now in going to Wi-Fi 6. All right. Well, either people are yes or not sure. That's good. A few people want to stay with their current situation, but cool. Thank you. So when it comes to mounting outdoor access points, here we're going to consider mounting it on a structure like a building versus mounting it in the parking lots. When you mount on the building, you have the advantages of there's power in the building already, your network infrastructure is in the building, and then also you can direct or mount the AP in the direction that you want. It's a lot of flexibility on your building. The disadvantages are you may not be able to hit the areas that you want to cover from the building itself. So in this diagram here on the right, you see we have some omnidirectional antennas out on poles in the parking lot because the APs from the building don't have enough power to reach all the way through and provide coverage for the whole area. Another way to mount access points is with poles or freestanding. The advantage is you get to put the pole wherever you want, so the location is up to you. Typically, you have omnidirectional antennas because the pole doesn't block any of the signal, so you get a 360-degree coverage. The disadvantages is that when you install a pole, you've got to bring infrastructure to it, you've got to bring power to it, and ultimately you've got to maintain that pole, which is outside of the building maintenance. So let's take this image here. You can see the two red dots in the parking lot are omnidirectional antennas that are on poles. And then we have two sectored antennas that are on the building. I think on those and then notice that we have another omnidirectional on the corner of the building. And the reason we use the omni on the corner of the building is because our sectors go 120 degrees, and here I wanted more than that. So it looks like I need 172 degrees. So here's an example of a high density deployment. It was stood up sort of a temporary for a concert. The idea here is we want to provide a high quality Wi-Fi to the VIP section in a concert. So you can see these access points. The one on the left has got a broader, that's the 120-degree sector, whereas the four in the middle here are the 30-degree sectors or narrow beams. These are tilted. These APs are tilted down and apart from each other so that they really spray the Wi-Fi directly in the area that they want. If you tip these up, then that would spread the energy back into the rest of the stands, but that wasn't the goal of this design. So you can see how you can use a combination of the sectored and the narrow beams to cover exactly the areas that you want.
Yeah, David, that's a good point too. I think with a lot of our customers, once we go out to do, and for schools, right? If we're doing the football field, whether we're doing a common space where all the students congregate, or whether it's even an office building, we generally use a combination of either the sector or the Omni. The narrow, as David was saying, is pretty specialized. We see that in a lot of stadium deployments we do. But generally, for the most use cases, it's going to be sector or Omni. Would you say that's about right, David? That's what we run into in the field? Okay.
Yeah, that's the majority of it. There are some narrow beam areas. It depends on really the geography of the site. In some very large warehouses, we've used them to shoot down aisles as well.
Yeah.
So depends on it.
And then we have a section as well, I think, covering kind of the point-to-point stuff, right? Or just,
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah. So when we get into mobile Wi-Fi deployments, we don't have a building, we don't have a pole, we've got to use something else. So you want to take it from here, Mike?
Sure. Okay. I guess you're going to change the slides for me because I'm not sure anything.
What a guy. What a guy.
The guy.
Yeah. So this is kind of the first building block for a mobile Wi-Fi deployment. It's combined for cellular backhaul. So you don't need any sort of infrastructure other than power. It'll connect back via LTE, and then it also acts as an access point as well. So it's 802.11 AC Wave 2. We don't have an AX version out yet, but there's one in the works. But generally speaking, you know, you got sort of limitations on the cellular Wi-Fi anyway, so you end up with you know, that being kind of your throttle or your choke point. One of the, you know, and these are, you know, you could say, well, it's the same, you know, and you could deploy these in a house, so you know, you could kind of say, oh, it's similar to like something you buy at Fry's. The big difference here is that it's actually manageable by your network, and that's why it's attractive for school districts and things like that, where they can send these home, they can configure them and then send them home with their students or with their staff, office workers, similar, and manage that as if it's on their wireless network. So apply the same security policies, ACLs, that kind of thing, without you know, without having to use a VPN. It's just like having office Wi-Fi in your house.
Yeah, hey, so, Mike, that's a good point, Mike. And I just want to chime in and say we have a customer in a school district in San Jose that right when the pandemic was happening, kids were working from home or learning from home, and about 60% of the school district, the students, had no access to the internet. And obviously the MiFi and Hotspots were so in demand, they were sold out. They were current Ruckus customers. So what we did is we actually deployed about, I think, 350 of these in students' homes. Connected it back, you know, to the smart zone, so they were actually managed, so it was compliant with a lot of the educational stuff that has to be compliant. And the price point on these aren't super high. But also what happened, we contacted with AT&T, put an AT&T SIM chip in it, and lit up the students' houses. So this was actually a kind of just a great solution for that. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, sure. That was one of, you know, I'm glad Adam mentioned that, because that was one of the shocking things for me when this thing hit and everybody started working from home, was hearing, and you know, for my experiences, generally more remote school districts, but it was really shocking to me to hear the percentage of students that don't have any sort of internet access at home. I just sort of assumed that everybody did, or it would be in the high 80s or 90%, but we're hearing, you know, 50 to 60% of students in a lot of different districts don't have any sort of internet access. So real important to, I think that we're going to address this as a culture, a country, you know, through a lot of different ways. But you know, these are some of the tools that we have. Another advantage, again, with using the M510, and having it be on your own network is a lot of school districts already provide their students with Chromebooks or some sort of device. Generally, they would have it in the classroom. Now there's no reconfiguration of that. Again, you set this up and it basically looks like you can use the same SSID as your school. So it's transparent to them whether they're working from home or working in the school district or in the school itself. So so simplicity for the end user and the IT department. Here's some of the specs on it. Like I mentioned, AC Wave 2. It's a 2x2 for both 5 gig and 2.4 gig. Right now we work with AT&T, but we're working on other SIMs for the backhaul for the LTE. We're working with Verizon, and I think there's a few others that are maybe not necessarily certified, but they will work. So we can help you navigate that process when we get down to it. It does have Ethernet ports built into it as well. So if you wanted to plug in a device directly to it, just use the cellular and not use the Wi-Fi. That's an option, or you can have other devices that are connected to it. Powered via either a power supply, or you can use PoE. So if a PoE, you have a PoE switch, that's an option, or DC, for mobile deployment, you can use the power of the bus itself as an example. It does have all our typical Ruckus magic, the beam flex and that kind of thing. So you're going to get really good Wi-Fi out of this thing. And that's pretty much it. It integrates in with all our other, again, because it's basically a Ruckus AP with cellular, it integrates in with all our other software options. So here's what it looks like from the back. So you can see the different power options, the PoE port, then a LAN port. So, generally you would plug in the WAN or the outbound switch to the WAN PoE port and power it that way. And then if you had another device, you just plug it in. I think there's a slide. Yeah, that's where it was. So you could do either local breakout and just really allow full access, or you could do a split tunnel where some traffic is directed directly out to the internet, or you can tunnel everything back to your controller. And that's how you would do it in, where if you wanted to basically allow, certain filtering or any sort of policy, you would apply that by tunneling everything back to the controller. It does provide local DHCP, so you don't need a router or anything else. It basically works like, it's a single device that you can plug it in, let it connect back via the cellular, and then it'll provide local DHCP for wired or wireless devices.
Hey, Mike, I was just thinking about this. With that school district we were working with and a couple others, some were going to an actual iPhone model where they'd buy an iPhone for each student, let them take it home and use it as a mobile hotspot. And a lot of our districts started telling us about theft, right? These are being stolen, these are being sold. So when it came to the M510, the theft rating went down dramatically, right? Because I think a lot of people, especially people not in the technology field like all of us are, know exactly what this is, right? They see it as just another, like almost like a modem in their house, right? So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you look at an iPhone, it costs, a new iPhone costs $1,000.
Yeah.
So, this is a significantly lower cost device, and it also has the benefit, like Adam said, is that it looks like something that goes on a network, not something that's particularly useful outside of, and it's outside of that as acting as that hotspot.
It doesn't fit in your pocket.
It doesn't fit in your pocket either.
Yeah. And did we cover anything about the SIM? What carriers work with it? Because I know there's. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey guys, I do have a question from the audience.
Sure.
Do any of your APs have Ethernet ports that supply PoE. For example, could a PoE powered camera be connected directly to an AP and powered?
Yes. So a lot of the outdoor APs have pass-through PoE. So it kind of depends on the model, and that's exactly the use case. So the T700 series and I believe the T600 has a pass-through PoE port too, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean the T750 definitely has the PoE out, and generally what we'll see with a lot of schools, and even I have a lot of even industrial and warehousing customers that will hang these outdoor APs and actually hang a PoE camera off of it. So
yeah, so that would
that's definitely something we have.
Yeah, it does.
T610s and the T710s.
Yeah, T710 would be the one that supplied that PoE plus out. So
Thanks. And
that
then
would-
one more question just came in. On the M510, since it has 2 SIM slots, is the future plan to allow users to install different provider SIMs in an attempt to achieve the best signal?
I am not sure.
I can take that, Mike. No, I mean that's the plan, right? I mean, I think it's to have 2 SIMs, so you could have, let's say, Verizon, AT&T, right, for whatever has the better coverage in that geographical area. So that's just one of the things that right now I think you guys are going to go over what's certified, so I won't step on your toes. But no, that's a great question, and it's something that that's the reason why there are two SIMs in there. So
Awesome.
And
Thanks.
because we're getting a lot, I don't know if I think in the past the M510 wasn't a particularly large seller, so there probably wasn't as much development into it as there could have been. But now these things are moving, because of the everything else. So there's a lot more focus on this type of device and a lot more attention being paid to it from an engineering standpoint. So I think we're going to see a lot of features emerging over time.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike, because before COVID, we had a lot of these on the shelf, right? I mean, we had a couple schools in rural areas that we would use this to light up a classroom or maybe a remote area, something like that. But after this whole pandemic occurred, these things literally started flying off the shelves. I mean, like when I say literally, I mean they literally grew wings and were flying away. Yeah, exactly, right. So, but no, it's a great product. It's a great solution, and I think it's a great alternative to putting an iPhone or a MiFi or even a Cradle Point because it's much more cost effective, and it's through a company that the school or end user already has, right, with Ruckus. So.
And it matches the control model, right? I mean, you can use the same controller, whether it's whether as your traditional Wi-Fi, whether you're on site or not. So this picture is just kind of a quick example of what a basic topology would look like. You could do an M510 by itself on the bus, and it could provide pretty limited Wi-Fi. You'd have to be pretty close or on the bus to really get any sort of signal. But this shows it being paired with a sectorized AP. So again, you have a second Ethernet port on that M510, so you can just attach a sectorized AP and sort of direct your wireless out from one side of the bus, or you could do an Omni on the roof and do some sort of pole mount, something like that. But and then connect to devices or people that are around it. And the big advantage, or the reason why we come back to using the bus, is obviously it's sort of a mobile infrastructure that schools already have. They're not doing anything with them, so it's very easy to put it out there and park it in a parking lot or a park or that kind of thing, and provide access to their students. So this is a little bit more complex, better signal. We would pair it with one of our PoE switches, and by doing that, we can power the switch via an inverter off the bus, and then just use the switch to distribute power out to the M510 and up to 3 or 4, as many sectorized APs as you needed. So then you can kind of provide signal all, you know, in a 360-degree area around the bus by, if you mounted one to the front, two to the sides, and then one to the back, you get you know, pretty far away too, pretty good distance, using the sectorized AP. So you could cover a, you know, a whole parking lot with this just by rolling up, and have your students come in either sit at tables, or some school districts are using tents, and you know, providing more of a semi-permanent learning environment.
Hey, Mike, so a use case I'm seeing out here, I mean, we have a couple school districts just in the city I live in, where they're actually giving away, you know, they're doing like free lunch programs, free breakfast programs in San Francisco, Unified, to be specific. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, underserved communities there. So the students are coming in the morning, they're coming in the afternoon, they're getting lunch and sometimes dinner as well. And what they're doing here, so we're actually putting a bus or a van or a truck, anything like that, and we're using a network setup just like this. And the students are actually coming in with their Chromebooks, they're downloading the curriculum for the week, and they can download that, then they can go home, work on the curriculum, because it's all printed out, it's already downloaded, and then they can come back the following day, turn in the homework or whatever, or they can, you know, find a safe area. I think it's, you know, they have some tables and areas designated 6 feet apart, but that's one way we're seeing this really utilized, where it's the free breakfast, free lunch program, when the students are picking up work and stuff like that. So it's a really good use case. I mean, you know, people aren't just kind of
school with the bus, but okay, I'll let you back, Mike. So.
Oh, that's good. Good. You want to go to the next slide, Dave? So there's more detail about what that looks like. I mean, it's pretty simple, but you get the idea. We can provide PoE off the switch, and that gives you, if you have other devices, you can plug direct into it too. So just some other options here. And this is like Dave and Adam have been saying, that, you know, this came on really quick. So obviously we haven't had a lot of time to develop our own mounting hardware. So people are getting creative with it, either mounting it off the windows as shown in the first picture, or with a suction cup type of situation you see in the second one. So again, this is something we can help you guys with, or you know, give you ideas at least for how to mount these.
Well, and they need to be able to come. It needs to be able to come out at night, right? Like at night, they need to be able to remove these APs from these mobile, you know, units, right? So they can't just leave the AP out overnight, right? I mean, not because of weather or anything like that, but more due to theft. So
evaporate.
Yeah, and another option that I kind of thought about, you know, it depends on how much work the school district wants to do, but they could mount some sort of pipe or pole off the bumper and then just hard mount them, right? So you're actually bolting them on like you're, you know, and then that would be more of a semi-permanent arrangement. But yeah, that's a good point, is that if it's not something where it's a firm mount, you want something that's removable then.
Mm-hmm.
So another, you know, this is hopefully, I keep hearing people say the new normal, and I'm like, God, I hope not. But when we ever go back to normal, these are pretty good additions for a like a network crash kit too. We have an SE that used to work for a school district, so you know, this is something that he put together for, you know, maybe I lose network connectivity or power in a building, right? So now, you know, my wireless is all down. This gives me a good short-term option to stand Wi-Fi back up. Another potential is like during some emergency situation, active shooter, fire, something like that, where we have to move the students out and put them in, you know, either outside or in an alternate building. This gives a way for people to get connectivity and allow, you know, be able to connect back to the network and allow student checkout and that kind of thing when the parents start showing up. So a pretty good addition to that crash kit that the school district would keep around for emergencies and sort of in the future. So it's not just it's not just for this COVID thing. It's something
Yeah.
road too.
Hey, Mike Allen. So, and the M510 is manageable as well from Unleashed, right? Which makes that
Yes.
mobile crash kit really, really slick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Smart Zone's a great controller, but if you need to spin something up really fast, Unleashed is a great platform. Yeah, completely standalone. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't mentioned that before. So there's another poll, and I'm not sure what the question is. Here we go.
Go ahead.
Which of the following features work together with split tunneling on Ruckus APs? I'm guessing this is as obvious as I would have guessed Grand Rapids, Michigan, because I've lived in Michigan. I know we ate a lot of s'mores back there, so this one should be just.
You enjoy your s'mores, you know what I mean? I can just tell, Mike.
I know you saw my picture.
I might drive over later if you guys are at home and drop some giant marshmallows off for you, just because you're probably eating through all the ones in the kit that was sent home. So.
Dear God, yes. I did gain the COVID-15 easy.
Yeah, it's like the COVID.
I think everybody guessed the right answer. It is all the above. So that's again the big advantage with using that 510 in conjunction with your existing controller is that you get all the features of all the security features and policies that you would as if you were on the network. Okay, so let's see where we at. So let's talk a little bit about power. Obviously, we have PoE options for all of our switches. All the APs that we sell are able to use PoE, and as mentioned, a few of them actually do pass through as well, PoE pass through. Recommended Cat 6A, 100 meters for distance, for the PoE to push it out. And you can also use power injectors, which we sell as well. For certain applications. It depends on the access point as far as the power requirements and how much it's actually going to use. The AX APs are typically higher, require a higher wattage just because it's a lot more powerful radio, a lot more horsepower in the chip itself. So, again, this is something we'll help you navigate, but the PoE requirements, they differ by switch as far as how much useful PoE load you can provide. So you can also do local power with either a power supply, or in some specific APs, we do DC power direct. So you can, they have power lugs. Again, this is something that we see a lot of in light poles and that kind of more of an industrial application. Okay, next. Oh, here we go. Little picture. Yeah, so you can see the DC terminal block, and we have these. The word just went right in my right. A gland. There you go. To weatherproof it, right? So you can provide PoE and still provide weatherproofing through that.
Yeah, that's the AC gland for the T710.
Yeah. So another interesting application, and this is a unique advantage that we have as being part, with being part of CommScope, is we do have a powered fiber solution. So with access points where maybe you don't have an option for you can't get power or data potentially at the light pole, or maybe the distance is too far for standard data, which happens a lot. We can provide PoE out, or power out of a device in the data closet as shown here, and use fiber in conjunction with the power, the PFC. You can see what it looks like, and then run that out to your light pole, provide a breakout, and then provide PoE to your access point. So you don't have to run separate power or network. You just need this powered fiber. So we're seeing some adoption of that now. It's pretty, I think it's fairly new in CommScope's price list, but we're seeing a lot of use cases for this. And you could do either single mode or multi-mode as shown.
Yeah, also mentioned that the copper's larger gauge, so it doesn't have the voltage drop that standard Cat 6.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can get out to 30 watts, 1.6 kilometers, or 2.6 at 15 watts. Which is again a lot further than you can do on standard Ethernet. Another CommScope innovation or idea they came up with is this rapid deployment unit. So you can, it has a built-in generator. It's got multiple options for connectivity, so you can do fiber connectivity or other data connectivity, or again cellular backhaul, LTE backhaul. You can do cable TV. So if you have broadcast or broadband via cable, then you can provide internet access that way. But it's mounted on this trailer, and then you can, as you can see here, raise up the tower and provide good wireless, like a good mobile, like a true mobile hotspot that's able to provide its own power for disaster recovery, parking lot deployments, or even like fires and things like that, where maybe you have an evacuation center or something like that, where you want to set up Wi-Fi connectivity for people, that are displaced, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Mike, I mean, we actually had some fire departments actually reach out to us. If you guys have been following what's going on in California, I mean, our whole state's up in smoke from all these fires, basically, yeah, in a different way. But yeah, and these, like Mike said, they're highly customizable, whether you want to do some sectorized APs or potentially, in the future, do some CBRS, right? So, it's definitely a good alternative besides, renting a generator from, some construction company and doing it that way. It's a great looking solution. We're seeing it from, government agencies, school agencies, even the enterprise space, right? For parking lots, events, stuff like that, especially with any type of outdoor event, fairgrounds. So there's a great application for this. And I'm definitely happy that CommScope, made it possible for the Ruckus team to kind of hop on this. So
yeah, and it's intentionally built. The size is small enough to where it will fit in a standard truck bed. So you could load it up in a truck, or it is towable. As you can you might be able to see on the one picture below, but it's towable with a standard trailer hitch as well.
Yeah, but and Mike, you don't need a big dually, right, to tow this, because it's not that heavy. You could probably tow with your Honda Odyssey, So
yeah, it's heavy enough where it won't blow over, and you do see the anchors on there that you can put down to support it. But yeah, it's fairly easy to move, and intentionally built that way. Okay. Did we lose Dave?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
No, yeah, your screen, maybe your screen went to your screensaver or something, because we lost, we were on backhaul. So
there we go. Yeah.
There we go. I think Dave is just trying to keep us on our toes, make sure we're paying attention.
Yeah. Can't go too smooth. It's not showing now, is it?
No, it's not.
It's white screen right now, yeah.
I didn't even do anything either.
Well, that's what they always say. Okay. We might have to have Bailey throw it up there, if she can.
Yep, give me 1 minute. I think if you exit, are you sharing the application, David?
Yes. Oh, stop.
instead of your full screen.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, backhaul connectivity options. Obviously, one way to do this is, if you're mounting on a building, that gets really simple. If you're trying to light up a parking lot at a school district, that's probably going to be your easiest option because you already have data, you already have power. All you got to do is drill a hole in the wall, run some conduit. So that's typical how we would do that in a school, and you can just barely see the APs that are mounted out here. But there's also, what if I can't do that? There might be some outdoor locations, like you can see up at the top here around the field, looks like a baseball field. I only have a pole, I have power, but I don't have any Ethernet connectivity or a good way to get it out there. So what we have oh, there we go. Skip to the next one. I don't have control. Yeah, so go to the next, go to the next slide or let it build out. I think it's got to build out.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So we have these point-to-point bridges, the P300. So in that case, what you would do, I think hit it maybe one more time, maybe.
Be careful.
Yeah, 2 more times. There you go. Okay, so there's the P300 bridge. So what this is standard wireless bridge, point-to-point or point-to-multi-point, so you could use multiples of these. Power them via PoE, and basically it's just it's a wireless bridge. It provides that remote connectivity, and then you'd run a standard access point off of that to provide your typical Wi-Fi off of that bridge. So pretty pretty good distance. The bandwidth goes down over distance, but I think, do you remember the max distance, Dave?
About it's 12 kilometers, which is
that's what
7.5 miles or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's with some external antennas. And I will say this, Mike, if you haven't, these are really, really easy to deploy. I think like years ago, I went with one of our engineers to San Francisco, and they used to be called the 7731s, point-to-points, but they're a pre-provisioned pair. So literally, they are really, really simple to deploy. Yeah. I mean, and they work.
Yeah. I've got just a personal experience. I've got a customer that's a winery out in the Central Valley, and what they use them for, they've got a few locations where, they've got a guard shack or a gate that they want to, that's has a badge reader or something like that. So they just use these to provide that connectivity over distance where they don't, it's not worth the expense of running a fiber. It's not very high bandwidth. They're just doing kind of basic connectivity, but they need something out there. So that's the sort of use case again, remote guard houses, gate houses, that kind of thing.
Well, hey, Mike, I had a question for you, Mike. So I've had a couple customers that actually wanted to make redundant point-to-point links, right? Because, they're connecting 2 buildings and they want to make sure it doesn't go down. And you can actually double the throughput too, because you can do, I think, link aggregation at the switch.
You could use Dhcp,
yeah. So that's a great option if your customer wants more speeds. And these things are super reliable. I mean, these things are really tough. So another option, if your customer needs that redundancy or more speed, we can always do that too.
Yeah. And then
I just think of it as a wire replacement. If you got to run a wire cable, you think about burying it, whatever, consider using point-to-point bridges. It's easier.
A lot cheaper than trenching, right?
And a lot cheaper than trenching.
For sure. So another option where maybe you don't want to do a separate bridge, we also, any of our access points, you can enable mesh and run them in a mesh mode, where now in the parking lot, you can see here, I only have power out on those poles, but I want to provide one, some sort of connectivity. I can use the 5 gigahertz band to do my bridge back basically, or mesh back to my mounted unit, which has full, data connectivity. And it's very easy to deploy. You can use the APs that they potentially have already. Any of the indoor or outdoor APs will work for mesh. There are some caveats. Obviously, this isn't a perfect solution because you're using the air. So every time you transmit anything, you're basically stealing half your bandwidth because you're taking the upstream and then you're kind of sending it right back out. So you want to limit the number of hops that you go through. You want to limit the distance, that kind of thing. But it does provide a good option if there's simply no other way to get there. You can't, nobody's going to give you fiber or going to let you tear up that parking lot and run fiber or copper. Then this is a good way to stand something up quick. And it works, looks good for distance learning if you need it. So
yeah, I just wanted to mention in the build out of this diagram here, you see initially we have one access point on the building that's connecting all of these access points together. By adding a second access point, we can minimize the number of hops. This mesh protocol that we run is completely dynamic. So if the access point at the top and the middle there can't access the AP the root AP that's on the building that it's connected to, it could also fall over and connect to the second root AP. So this gives you more flexibility in both minimizing the numbers of hops, which gives you more throughput, but then it also gives you a level of reliability.
Yeah, it provides a redundancy. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Good point.
All right, that's the end of our slides. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, and just to add, guys, too, if you guys have questions that come up after this webinar, tomorrow, the next week, just reach out to Securematics and they'll connect you with one of us. I know you guys are kind of spread out all over the United States, and we're just, we're tied here to Northern California, but everyone at Ruckus is always willing to help. We definitely like to put the partners first, and same with Securematics. So just let us know.
Hey guys, thank you. That was great. Really appreciate it. Ruth, did you want to cover anything before? We've got about 10 minutes left. Any questions? Oh, you're on mute, Ruth.
No, I don't think
every meeting. It has to happen once in every meeting or it's not a successful meeting.
So true. Definitely want to say thanks to Adam and the guys for presenting. That was a great presentation, and also give partners and Robbie as well any chance to ask questions or send any comments if they'd like as well.
I had a question real quick. So guys, your products, are they BLE ready or have BLE built in?
So a couple different answers to that. The older APs, as in like the 802.11ac APs, typically those have a USB port that you could provide. Hey, there you go. I like the cup. They would provide a PoE, or I'm sorry, a USB port that you could plug in a IoT dongle. All of the new APs, all the AX stuff that's coming out, literally every single one has built-in BLE. It's just it's an additional
requirement now, really, right, Mike?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's one of those things that's in there whether you choose to use it or not, but it's in all the APs moving forward.
Okay, that helps. That helps because a lot of deployments are using BLE, especially with these lanyards and everything. I just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
Another thing, since you brought it up too, we do have an IoT controller that sort of helps coordinate multiple different devices. In the end, IoT devices all have their own, generally have their own control protocol, control application. But because we're right in the middle of the conversation, we have what's known as Riot. It's a Ruckus IoT controller. And what it does is it allows you to coordinate multiple different systems and then write rules on it. So you can say like, okay, when this door opens, I want to turn on this camera or turn it towards it or something like that. When this water sensor hits, turns on, then I want to perform some sort of action. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's a good add-on product if you're using IoT.
Great. That's awesome. I wasn't aware of that, so I'm going to definitely check it out.
There was one question that came in, probably a great question for the Ruckus team, about comparing the Unleash Ruckus APs to Meraki and how easy it is to kind of mesh a network for Unleash versus Meraki.
Well, I could take that. One of the real advantages that Ruckus brings over Meraki in particular is Meraki is a cloud-only solution, right? And the minute you stop paying your subscription and it runs out, they turn into very expensive bricks. We provide the same APs, and they will run in any of our control models. So we have a controllerless model, which is called Unleashed, where one of the access points acts as a controller for the network, and that is for a limited number of APs. I think it's up to 25 or 50, but that's sort of a smaller scale. We also have controller-based options, and we do have a cloud controller as well. And our cloud, I like our cloud interface. Of course, I'm probably biased, but I like our cloud interface better than Meraki's. It's a little bit newer, so it looks it. It definitely is, but provides similar features, very easy to use, and a real simple GUI that you don't need to do any sort of reading to the manuals. You just jump into it, and it's very simple to learn.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, yeah, when it comes to Unleash, Mike, just to chime in, yeah, Unleash is really simple to set up. I mean, I think like 5 or 6 of my neighbors have Unleash set up at their house, and you can control it through the app. But the main advantage, obviously, going with Ruckus is performance too, right? And definitely, if you're a Meraki fan, I suggest getting an NFR unit from Securematics and doing some real world testing. Generally with Ruckus and all the end user accounts I've won over the years, it's pretty much like a 90% win rate once we plug in our access points and test it against a competitor. So not only with Unleash, it's simpler, it's easy to use, it's more cost effective, it's more flexible in terms of what controller platform you want to use, but it performs really good. So definitely test it out. You can ask Ruth or Robbie for an NFR unit and go from there and try it out.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, Dave, Adam, and Mike, thanks very much. That was really informative. I mean, there's a lot of real world things that are happening right now. We would hope that this COVID situation wouldn't drive a lot of this discussion, but it is, and we feel it's going to be around for a little bit. I don't know if it's a new normal, but we know that every school district now and business has a pandemic plan as a result of it. I think you're going to be looking at folks trying to upgrade their wireless, to say the least, here over the next course of the next several months. With that said, we are going to put together a solutions-focused FastTRAC session that's going to talk specifically around a back-to-school solution. It's going to incorporate this journey of what the student experiences and what the school requires for that student to go back on campus. It's going to be very IoT driven. It's going to be Internet of Things with kiosks and lanyards and Bluetooth and access points and all the requirements around that. Ruckus obviously plays a major role in this solution, and we're going to bring that to you very shortly. So please watch your email for that, and we would love for you to attend. I think it's going to be extremely informative, and I think it'll be a good way for you to consult with your customers, not only how to put together these solutions, but also how to pay for them through the Heroes and Cares Act. Okay, so that's pretty much
Brian,
it.
if I could get an invite to that, I'd love to see that as well. So maybe you can send us an invite.
You definitely will. You definitely will.
No more s'mores.
Yeah, not for Mike.
That'll,
Maybe yogurt.
Activia.
Tough crowd.
tough crowd. But we're really looking forward to bringing that session, because we feel like just what you've been doing with the whole Wi-Fi in the bus and in parking lots really is an extension of that program, and it's the next logical step in getting folks back to school. So anyway, very, very excited about that. I think that's about it. I don't want to end on a downer here, but Eddie Van Halen died today, and I'm kind of dating myself. So any Van Halen fans out there, this
Yeah,
is
I just saw that.
a big loss. So
2020 just keeps on giving.
yeah, 2020 keeps on giving, as they say. And but we do appreciate you as customers, obviously the whole Ruckus CommScope team as partners. You can't pick better partners. And you can't pick better products either. I have to tell you that when you told your story about your neighbor having them, I have to confess I have probably 12 access points in my house right now. So I'm one of those Ruckus junkies, and what a reliable way to go. And obviously my neighbors do too, but they're buying customers. They buy it. I don't give it away to them. Like you guys do. Okay.
Hey, I never said that.
Hey, Brian, if you need 12 APs, you can't hide money, okay?
No, hey, Brian,
No, I'm only kidding.
Brian, we appreciate, the partnership with Securematics and all our partners, right? I mean, we're definitely a channel-driven organization, and we appreciate everything they do and you guys do. So we can't thank you enough through this time we're going through.
And Adam, I appreciate it does take a village, so we don't expect it all to be exclusive Securematics, but we're really here for your very specific Ruckus needs and knowledge around those products and solutions. Okay.
Cool.
And we don't carry Meraki, sorry. So we're kind of all in the same fenced area together here. And then with that, I'll end the seminar, the workshop, whatever you want to call it, and have a great rest of your afternoon. And thanks for attending.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks everyone.